This presentation will cover the background allies from Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Allies. Allies are mortals who support and help you. Family, friends, or even mortal organization that owes you some loyalty. Although allies usually aid you willingly without coaxing or coercion, they are not always available to offer assistance. They have their own concerns and can only do so much for the sake of your relationship. Usually, allies appear about once per story. Allies can be almost anyone in your home city, depending on what your storyteller will allow. You may have friends in the precinct morgue, at a tabloid newspaper or gossip blog, among high society, or at the railroad yard. Allies are generally trustworthy, although they probably don't know that you're a vampire or even that vampires exist. However, nothing comes for free. If you wind up drawing favors from your friends in the Russian mafia, he'll probably ask you to do him a favor in kind in the future. Effectiveness. 1. Weak mortal, likely useless in violent or potentially violent situations. 2. Average mortal, or a tight-knit group of weak mortals. Neighborhood kids who solve mysteries, church group, NGO chapter. 3. Gifted mortal or dangerous group of average mortals. Street gang, celebrity entourage, a blue-collar union local. 4. Deadly mortal, a gifted mortal with magic or other supernatural powers. Or a well-armed group of gifted mortals, a private security squad, a lawyer contingent, a Russian mafia bratva. Reliability. 1. When you call on them, they appear half the time. 2. When you call on them, they appear within 1 to 10 hours, and you roll a die. 3. When you call on them, they appear as soon as possible. This is fairly easy to understand. Allies are family, friends, or others that are close enough to you that they will owe you some loyalty. They can know that you are kindred, but probably do not. This point will become better understood when we go through the background retainer. Allies are fairly trustworthy, but they are more than likely only going to do for you what you would do for them. Depending on the character's story and the creation of the ally, they will do so much for the character before asking something in return. Your sister may give you information or do something with little to no risk at her job, but if it would risk her going to jail or losing her job, it's highly unlikely. Now, usually I do not go into the rules as they can easily be understood by the reading, but I prefer to go into detail what the book alludes to, but does not outright say. Here, I have a little bit to talk about, so let's get on with it. Effectiveness. This is just the basics on statistics if your character wishes to have them do something physical. Reliability. Points spent here determines how reliable your allies are. Personally, I do not use this in my games for one simple reason. If I were to call on a friend in need and they didn't show up, I'm going to be highly unlikely to call them again. If I do, and they don't show up a second time, why on earth would I ever call upon their aid again? Even if it took them 5+ hours, I'd feel the same way. Of course, circumstances can be an issue, but not every time. Creating allies. Who is your ally? Who are they? What do they do? Where do they work? Are all things needed when you create your ally? I also find a picture that resembles my idea for how that ally looks. What is their effectiveness? Of course, the more dots you put in an ally, the more powerful the ally is. Having the basics of your ally already created, deciding on stats should be fairly simple. Now again, personally, I do not allow magical mortals or supernaturals as allies, unless it's within the story they are discovered. A suggestion is, if the player wants to spend 4 dots, just make a note that they are extraordinary in their field. A hacker, for example, would be able to do extraordinary things online, and an extraordinary accountant can make your taxes look flawless, as well as give you the largest possible returns. As a storyteller, I would note the details of the ally and determine the lines that the ally would not cross. I generally always give the one aid per story for free, and then ask for something in return if asked for aid again. Of course, all allies are going to have a line that they will not cross. The hacker may do anything asked, but would ask something in return for the risk. Information from him would be free, unless they would have to work to get it. The accountant will do anything in the field for payment, but nothing that would risk his job. He'd be willing to show you how to hide assets, but they wouldn't do it themselves. Storyteller issues. Allies are people, not just tools for your character, and they be treated as such. Too often you catch players calling their allies often to do things. If the ally asks for a favor in return and is ignored, they probably will not do anything else until their favor is completed. Even if information is all they want, a person will get tired of always being at the beck and call of the character and probably avoid them. Instead of a favor, the ally could just ask for dinner with the character. As a storyteller, keep the ally human, and even if not used, have them call to talk to the character. Any storyteller player character can eventually become an ally to the players. Always follow certain rules when they choose to do so. The first thing they have is to build a relationship with the SPC. They can do this through role-playing or even just tell me they are going to meet with SPC and befriend them during downtime. Anything the player tells me the intentions of his character and the SPC is fine. Some players feel uncomfortable with relationships of any kind in gameplay outside of the other player characters. Spend the points and allies needed for the storyteller player character. As it is character that I have created, I just tell the player what they need to have them as their ally. If they do not have the experience to purchase it right away, it's okay, as long as they show interest every session. Even in passing, keep their relationship growing. When it's paid, the character can have access to their ally. The final way is for the player to buy an ally outright. The player spends XP needed to purchase and then tells me what they are wanting. Then we create a quick background and I add it to the story. I always add everything through the story that is going on, so it all can be flowing naturally, like it was there in the story the whole entire time. Storyteller ideas for allies return favors. Favors do not have to be complex tasks. They can be, especially if it's for a level 4 ally. But most of the time it'll be like, hey, you owe me dinner the next time we go out, or let's go see that new movie next weekend and catch up. Keep them human. I know it means a little more work, but it adds a lot to the stories. Have allies call their characters just to talk. Remind them they are there and they are friends, family, or whatever else that binds them together. Lastly, don't let them be abused. Think how you would feel if you were asked for things all the time, but they were not there for you and you needed them. Have the ally react the way you think they should react to how the character treats them. I know it sounds petty, but I guarantee the players will enjoy hearing the ally give them a hard time for never calling, unless they need something. I hope you liked this video. Hopefully you have learned something new, or at least gotten some ideas that you can incorporate into your own game.